morning, everyone.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to Water Commission meeting for Thursday, July 17th. I will call this meeting to order. Can we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Davis?
Here.
Commissioner Young? Commissioner Cooney?
Here.
Vice Chair Keller?
Here.
Chair Snyder?
Here.
Council Member Sneddon? All right, we have a quorum.
Thank you. And are there any changes to the agenda this morning?
No changes to the agenda, Chair Snyder.
Thank you. And is there any public comment at this time?
Chair Snyder, we don't have any speakers for public comment,
All right.
on
then-
general public comment.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to the consent calendar. There's 3 items on there. Any questions from commissioners?
I move approval of the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All right, can we get a vote?
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney?
Yes.
Vice Chair Keller?
Yes.
Chair Snyder?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Now we'll move on to administrative items, starting with number 4, the sewer system management plan update.
Could I just go back? We don't have any speakers for public comment on consent items either.
You wrote
Sorry.
it on my paper and everything. I forgot.
I didn't write it on mine.
All right. Good morning, Chair Snyder. My name's Thomas Welch. I'm the wastewater system manager, and I'll be presenting on the sewer system management plan update this morning. Our presentation today will go briefly over the regulatory background that requires this sewer system management plan, changes from the 2020 sewer system management plan, and our recommendation to forward this to City Council for approval. So regulatory background, the state initiated the waste discharge requirements for sanitary sewer systems back in 2006. We've had a sewer system management plan since that date. In 2013, they updated the monitoring requirements and reporting requirements, and so we had to modify our SSMP at that time as well to comply with those new changes. And then over pretty much through COVID, they worked on updating the general order, and so they issued a new general order for sanitary sewer systems effective. It was issued in December 2022, and it became effective in June 2023. And pretty wholesale changes to their SSMP with our requirements, requiring much more documentation that was required in the past. So the WDR does require all publicly owned systems over a certain size to have and implement their SSMPs and maintain their SSMPs. That's the important one. In audits in the 2010 to 2020 period, they found there was agencies that hadn't updated their SSMPs since they first issued them in 2006. So the old requirement did require routine audits and updates, but not everyone was following those, unfortunately. Some of the changes with the 2022 update of the WDR, the general order, was significantly more documentation, long-term planning, included budget planning for capital planning, long-term planning. There is a requirement to submit system maps to the water board. We are working on that. That deadline is, I believe, December of this year. And when they issued the new WDR, because there's so many changes, they reset everyone's audit and update schedule. So, and the audit frequency used to be you would do an internal audit every 2 years, and then you would have to update your entire SSMP every 5 years, which doesn't really line up properly. So the new frequency is internal audits every 3 years, and then wholesale updates to the SSMP every 6 year are required. So the SSMPs are supposed to be a living document. So if we are within that 6 year frequency and we do make changes, we are required to document those changes, but we don't necessarily need to get the entire plan reapproved and re-updated unless there's significant changes to the document. And the other big change is enhanced capacity planning requirements. especially related to climate impacts. So what is an SSMP? It's not State Street Master Plan. I know we love acronyms, but there is an overlap there in the city of Santa Barbara. This one is our sewer system management plan. It is a broad, kind of a mix between an owner's manual and an asset management plan for the collection system. It's a plan and schedule to manage, operate, maintain the system. It has our SSO response plans. It has engineering guidelines inside, and it's mainly there to help mitigate SSO impacts, sanitary sewer overflow impacts, excuse me. So what is the SSMP continuing? It's like I mentioned earlier, it is a living document, must be updated every 6 years, and when it is updated, it needs to be approved by our governing body per the state. And so that's why we're presenting to you, and we'll be forwarding this to City Council on July 29th. The new schedule from the state requires us to submit we did our internal audit. It was due in February, and then our updated plan had to be submitted within 6 months of the audit. So our deadline is August 2nd. So we are right on schedule with the council break and our canceled June meeting to make our August deadline after we get approved by City Council. So the internal audit that is completed every 3 years kind of has two phases that we look at. We look at the effectiveness of the plan, how well is it working, and then we evaluate its compliance with the state regulations. This is just a layout of all the different elements that are required to be in the SSMP. The state is very detail oriented in this, and so it's like listing the legal authority, listing the who are the legally responsible officials in the document. So that's me and Esteban Zambrano, our wastewater collection superintendent, are the legally responsible officials for the operations and maintenance of this system. Listing all our plans. One thing we have in the way our plan is set up, we have the base document with all these elements, and then we have all our appendices. And so some of these, like our spill emergency response plan, our SSO response plan, our SSO reduction plan, are appendices to these 11 elements. And that allows us to be more strategic on how we update each section. We're not having to pull out the entire 800-page document. We can pull out one section and focus on that one section at a time. The process of where how we got here and where we are. So in 2022, December 6th, the new WDR was approved by the state. They required us to submit a new SSO reduction plan in May before June 2023. We submitted ours in May 2023. The new WDR became effective June 5th, and then that included our new schedule. So our audit was due in February 2025, and that audit period covered a period of August, 3-year period, August 2021 to August 2024. So that's where we went through. It is an internal audit, but we hired a consultant. We hired HDR Inc. to perform that audit, and we evaluated the performance. They gave us a slew of recommendations to make updates, and then we took those recommendations and we spent the last 6 months updating the SSMP to incorporate all those recommended changes. And so now we're here to inform you got the Water Commission of the changes we've made, and so that we can go to City Council and submit to the state before August 2nd. And then we are already preparing for our next audit will be February 2027, and that'll cover the period of August 2024 to August 2026. So the SSO reduction action plan update was submitted in May 2023. That made a major change to our cleaning approach. And I really have to give credit to the leadership team and our collections team on this change. They've really gone full circle on doing different approaches. When we look at some of the audit reports, you'll see there is the spill per 100 miles got a little high, and then we're really, that number is really dropping significantly as we've implemented this new cleaning approach. They are going out and we had the old system, we were trying to hit the entire city, and so we were trying to move. You would clean one main in one part of town, and then the next main would be 3 miles away, and then they'd be bouncing around town trying to clean this. And so now we're doing a basin cleaning approach. And so the way I always describe the collection system, it's kind of like our watersheds in nature. You have the small tributaries going into bigger streams and then the rivers. So they're now following the flow and working in a basin at a time. So that does increase their productivity a little bit because they're traveling a lot less, and they're all working within that same basin, and that basin is then all cleaned at once, and we know that area is clean, and you're not moving potentially debris from one main to the next main, not capturing it all, you're moving it all the way through the system and capturing it. So they've also increased the cleaning frequency for some mains. We had some mains that were only being cleaned every 3 years, and anything smaller than 15 is now on an annual cleaning basis. That is partnered with looking at some of our high-frequency mains. We had mains that we were cleaning on a monthly and a 2-month basis, and during our annual report last year, I was really pleased to announce that we'd have no more 1-month mains, and we're working diligently to reduce 2-month, 3-month, 4-month, 6-month mains, trying to get them industry standard. You really shouldn't have to clean a main more than once a year, and so we're trying to get back to that metric across the board. So a couple other efforts going on we'll talk about when we get further on how we're being able to get to that cleaning frequency and how we've been able to extend those short high-frequency mains out. This is we're going to talk a little bit more about the audit at this point. So HDR is the team we worked with. They're extremely well known in our area, and they're experts in this field here. And they helped us assess the compliance with the new general order. They identified deficiencies and a lot of opportunities for optimization and improvement. This shows, it's a little small on the screen there, but the red line is our spills per 100-mile frequency, and then the blue and the green are similar agencies to us in our region. So the green line, I believe, is agencies with medium-sized agencies with no laterals, and then the blue line is all agencies with laterals within Region 3. So this is specific to Central Coast Water, the Central Coast Water Board region. And so you can see that, in that during our audit period in 2021, 2022, 23, we did have an increase in spills per 100 miles. What I'm going to show on the next slide is that this doesn't really tell the whole story. We do have a bit of a higher spill rate on the number of spills, but when we look at volume of sewage spilled and the volume of sewage recovered, we are well below the industry average. And that's partly due to the size of our system, the scope of our system, and the challenging topography of being in Santa Barbara. We have very steep streets. We have lots of creeks and that are integrated into our storm drain system, and so we do not have much time to respond to a spill to avoid it reaching a water body of the state. So I really commend our team on how quickly they are able to respond to a lot of these spills.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
What drove the increase that we see here? It looks like it really dramatically increased right before the audit period.
Yeah, so that's December 2022 is where we got that just a bit of a spike. And some of that was 2022 and 2023, we had significant rainstorms. And so some of those spills were due to those rainstorms. And we had a previous change in approach to cleaning that did not was not the best approach, and so we had to kind of backtrack on some of those changes, and you can see that is really, we were really on a downward trend at this point.
Because it looked like 20, like between, well, the end of 2020 and 2021, where it like goes up right before the audit period.
Yeah, COVID had a lot to do with that as well. There was changes. We did have to, when COVID hit, we had to kick out some of our cleaning frequencies. We were really short-staffed during that period. My predecessor, remember, challenges of just bringing in staff. There was a point where we even brought in contract staff during that period to try and keep up with cleaning. And we also had to stop our chemical root control program, and we deferred a lot of capital. So all of that kind of combined to drive that spill rate up. But we are on a downward trend at this point. We just closed out the fiscal year. So for the period of July to June, we had 9 spills. So that puts us just under 4 spills per 100 miles, which keeps us in that range with the other agencies.
Thank you.
The other new change with the, sorry,
Another question. So not all spills are the same size, right? So some
Correct.
of them are really big, some of them are smaller. We'll see some of the numbers later.
yes. We during the audit period, you can see that bar chart on the left shows the different categories. So we had 10 category 1s, which are the greater than 1,000 gallons, and that reached the receiving body. And the rest were category 3s, which typically are fully recovered. And I might have to bring up Mr. Johns here to help me with the category spill volumes, if you're able to help me with that. And he has also some numbers on our spills for the last 12 months. So this is a little more recent than, you can either go to the podium or you can sit wherever you're comfortable. And just hit the,
Hello. Sorry, this is my first time being in front of so many people
this is Rob.
doing this. So,
Rob Johns, our planner scheduler in our collections team.
when it comes down to the categories that we had in this last fiscal year, we actually had 5 category 3s and 4 category 4s. Category 4 was actually a new category that was brought up into the newest update when it comes down to the SSMP.
So the new WDR, when they issued it, they created a new category for spills less than 50 gallons that were recovered. And so the 9 spills we had last year, 4 of them were fully recovered, less than 50 gallons. And so that's a credit to just the size of our system. A lot of our mains are 6 to 8 inch mains, and so pretty low volume. And then just the quick response of our teams to be able to respond to these spills, and our community for reporting them. The challenge with sewer spills is we don't know about them until somebody calls them in. We do have over 50 smart covers in the system now. These are level sensors that are unmanned under the sewer manholes, and they measure the level in the sewer. And so we have actually caught quite a few blockages at this point and been able to avoid spills based on using that technology. So this puts some of the numbers to the spill count that we were just discussing. So we did, over that audit period, we had 30 spills, 10 reached the surface waters. What I just want to point out is the last line is gallons per 100 miles reaching surface waters. The average across the agencies was 95,000 gallons per 100 miles. For agencies that are medium-sized agencies, which is where we fall in, it was 37,000 gallons, and ours metric was 14,000 gallons for that audit period.
So Tom, just to clear, those are averages?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's a gallons per 100-mile metric. Yeah. So through the audit, there was three kinds of different findings that HDR documented for us. There was the most significant was a Category A noncompliance. We had one finding for that. To give context to that, that finding was due to us not mapping our air valves on our force mains in our GIS system. And so after getting that result and researching it, we found that we have 0 air valves, and so that is the reason they're not documented on our GIS. So we just needed to confirm that we had 0 in the system, and that's why they're not fully mapped. There was also 48 minor nonconformance. These are low-risk statements. One of them was you must post your SSMP in a publicly accessible location and provide contact information for the public to reach out to if they have any comments or questions or proposed changes. And so we did not, we have our SSMP posted on the city website. It's linked on our wastewater collections page. We have contact information on our wastewater page, but we don't have explicit contact information saying if you have any specific comments on the SSMP, please reach out to this person. So we did edits that information in the SSMP to provide that explicit information for that specific purpose. So that's.
Were there any findings of like operational significance that kind of helped you make changes in terms of wastewater operations, or were they mostly like technicalities like that?
It was mostly technicalities. I was just mentioning to our team that one of the silver linings of being under our consent decree and in the 2010 and to 2020 period was they really forced us to implement a lot of these new changes prior to them being required. So there's our operation already had implemented a lot of the changes that were being recommended to implement, and because we were already doing it, we just maybe weren't fully documenting it to the level the state wanted, and so we just had to update some of our documentation to meet that letter of the new WDR.
Thank you.
In parallel with the audit period and the WDR update, we reevaluated our staffing levels, and so we have over the last couple of years reorganized the collection system and we have a much more significant planning team to support the functions that are required in the SSMP. The most recent change is with this new fiscal year, we have a O&M capacity project coordinator. So that person, his functions are to look at new connections to the city, provide input on where they will connect, how those connections will, the flows from those new connections will affect the collection system, and look at flow monitoring studies. We're still working on that I&I study, and so that's under that person's responsibility as well. We have 2 planner schedulers. Rob Johns next to me here is in charge of our cleaning program. We have another planner scheduler who is in charge of our CCTV, which is closed circuit television, and that's really sewer inspection program. And then we have a second project coordinator in charge of capital improvements, and those are more, we call that our rehab, replacement, and repair program. So he's, if there's emergency point repairs, that's that person's responsibility, and they coordinate with our engineering team to select sewer mains for replacement in coordination with our planner schedulers. the workhorse for managing all the documentation and activities that our teams are performing is our CMMS. That's our computer maintenance management system. We use a software called Cartograph, and Cartograph was purchased by OpenGov, and so we still refer to it as Cartograph. It is a module within OpenGov EAM now, though. And so we updated several workflows and automation tools, and the new version, it's both, it's with the new mobile environment we are in, they fully integrated. They used to have like a desktop version and a mobile version. Now it's just one version and it's mobile accessible. And so it's helped our team have just one consistent interface that they're using. And the new update also simplified the way that tasks are all assigned. So that's really helped out our team build out their cleaning program. And the crew in the field have so much accessibility to the data. They're able to see notes. They're able to pull up the map. It's GPS enabled, so when they're out in the field, it's like, here you are, and here's the work you're doing. So at this point, if there's no questions, do you have a request for recommendation to forward this to council? Do we have public comment?
Chair and Commissioners, we have no public comment on this item.
All right, ready to take a vote?
Move to recommend.
Second.
All right, Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney?
Yes.
Vice Chair Keller?
Yes.
Chair Snyder?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Well, thank you very much to you both. And just to really commend you all on this work. I think most people probably don't even know that our sewer systems need to be cleaned, and all the work that goes into, keeping that system functioning for our residents. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we'll move now. Item number 5, the Annual Consumer Confidence Report and 2025 Public Health Goals Report.
You're good, Rob. Yeah, Galen's going to be.
Good morning, Chair Snyder, Commissioners. My name is Galen Fair. I am the Water Quality Superintendent, and today we're going to talk about the Consumer Confidence Report and Public Health Goals Report. Presentation overview. First, I want to talk about our Water Resources Laboratory. They are the workhorse in providing all the data that goes into these reports, so I want to give them a shout out and tell you a little bit about them. And then we'll dive into what the Consumer Confidence Report is and the Public Health Goals Report. So first off, Water Resources Laboratory is the city's laboratory and supports all of city departments in their analytical testing needs. We are staffed 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Unfortunately, this is only about half of the staff. But currently, we have 7.5 FTEs, I'm considered half, and 2 hourlies. But we have 2 additional full-time coming on this year, so we're in the middle of recruitment for that. I'll get into a little bit more of the new regulations in a later slide, but really the additional workload that has come about because of new regulations has required us to up our staffing. So we're excited to bring on some new people. Basically, what we do in the lab is a lot of regulatory compliance. So this is for our NPDES permit for the wastewater treatment plants and the sewer system management plan, and our Division of Drinking Water permits for water treatment, and distribution. We do the sample collection, the analytical testing. A very large portion of it is quality control to ensure that all of the data that we're putting out is accurate and precise. And with all of that data that we're producing, we are also preparing reports and documenting. Lots of documentation requirements, as Mr. Welch had alluded to at the SSMP. That is no different for the laboratory. Managing the data, and we also house the pretreatment program in the lab, which oversees industrial users and other direct discharges to the sewer system. So some highlights for 2024, since we're talking about the 2024 data. Last year, we successfully implemented the new, there's so many acronyms. I'll just say regulations. They're T&I, which is an acronym of an acronym, for our environmental laboratory accreditation program, and we were audited under those new regulations. It was a beast of an audit, but we got through it. We had some deficiencies, made the corrections, and we are certified under the new regulations. It's really great to say that. No easy feat. So our laboratory is ELAB certified in both water and wastewater analyses for 47 test methods. So just to give you an idea of our neighboring agencies, Goleta Sanitary, they have about 11 test methods that they're certified in, and I believe Montecito has 9 or 10. So we really are a much larger laboratory than our neighboring agencies. So we like to toot that horn.
Do we do any work for the neighboring agencies? Do they send us any samples or no?
Only in emergencies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, only in emergencies. So a little bit about what we did last year. Annual performance, we collected over 12,000 samples last year. We analyzed over 36,000 analyses, tests, 11,000 quality control analyses. So on top of testing the sample for a specific analysis, we are also doing those additional quality control tests. Last year, we did about 97% of the tests were performed in-house, about 3% contracted out. And the 3% is higher than we've done in the past, simply because, one, staffing needs. We had a couple folks leave the city. Unfortunately, they were the primary analysts, there we go, on our advanced instrumentation. So because we've been short-staffed and there's been the increased workload, we haven't had time to train new folks to get those instruments running again. So we've had to contract out some of that, those samples. So with all of those samples, all of that data, all the results, we need to have some sort of record-keeping system. There is so much documentation. The new regulations, similar to what Thomas had mentioned, Mr. Welch had mentioned on the SSMP, is we were doing a lot of the things, we just weren't documenting it. So the new regulations really required the documentation, very, very detailed. Think cradle to grave, anything that touches a sample, we need to document, lot numbers, expiration dates, et cetera. So it becomes a little tedious. But we do have a laboratory information management system, the LIMS, which is really, as the name says, a data management system. So we enter all of our results, keep track of our samples in that. It organizes, stores, retrieves anything with the data. What we have realized over these last couple of years as we came into compliance with the new regulations is we need to upgrade our LIMS system. Our LIMS system is currently capable. It's very efficient, but as the regulations have changed, we have not had the time or staff to then keep moving and adding to our LIMS system. So that's a goal that we have for the next year as we get fully staffed to add new modules to our system so we can be more in compliance with the regulations. The laboratory, because we generate all of the data, we're typically the ones generating all the regulatory reports. So that is the Division of Drinking Water reports, our NPDES wastewater reports, which includes pretreatment, and then, of course, the Consumer Confidence Report, which is what we're going to talk about shortly. Very shortly. Okay, so the Consumer Confidence Report, we often refer to this as our annual water quality report, and it is a regulatory requirement by the Division of Drinking Water. and it provides information on the local water here in Santa Barbara that we will provide to our customers. It's a summary of the previous year, so this CCR is calendar year '24, and we have about 6 months to put together all the data and send it out to our consumers. And the only thing we're reporting on this report is the detected parameters. So there's a lot of stuff that we test for that is a non-detect or a less than value, so we don't put that on the report. So if you compare neighboring agencies, they might have more constituents on theirs or they might have less, and that's the reason. So we're required to report on both regulated and regulated contaminants. And it's due every year, July 1st. We have already sent that out to our customer base, and it's always fun to get the calls and see what kind of questions folks have. The CCR has 8 elements, so we have to talk about just general information of our water system, give definition of our water sources, explain our water sources. So as we all know, we have a very diverse water portfolio. So we explain all of the different water sources: surface water, groundwater, desal, recycled water, conservation. I'm sure I'm missing 1 or 2.
State water.
And state water, there we go. There's some general definitions that we include in the report, and then the meat and potatoes of it is the water quality chart. There are some requirements to include information on cryptosporidium. A new one this year is hexavalent chromium, if there's presence of it, and radon. And then additional compliance with the regulations, if we have any variants or exemptions from the requirements, and then additional educational information for our public. So there's a lot of acronyms in here. A lot of them sound the same, but there's some nuances to them all. So there is a detection limit for reporting, and that is, I'm gonna say it, minimum level of a parameter that must be reported to the water board. So I'm trying to think about how to say this. You can see levels, but if it's below that level, you don't necessarily have to report it to the state. I like to report everything. If there's presence of it, I'm gonna, hey, we've tested for it, there's presence, even though it might be below this detection limit. So that's one of the limits that's in there. If any of the parameters are above the detection limit for reporting, they must go in the report. There's the maximum contaminant level, which is the highest level of a parameter that's allowed in drinking water. Anything above it, it becomes a violation, and then there's additional actions that we would have to take to remove it. And then there's the public health goal, which is really, just as it sounds, it's a goal for what should be in the water, and that is because it is the level at which no known health risks occur. Those are the main acronyms and levels that we're looking at as we go through the chart. I think I already mentioned this. Only the detected parameters are listed in the chart. We do compare the MCL, which is the maximum, to the public health goal. So a lot of times folks will sometimes question, well, isn't this bad if it's above the public health goal? No, it's not. We're totally fine. There's just some additional, again, there's some health risks above the health goal. Included in the chart is mandatory language about the health effects for each parameter. And again, we test hundreds of different parameters annually, but a lot of them don't end up in the chart because they are undetected. And then I'll dive into the different categories of parameters in the chart. And I don't expect you to see this because there's a lot of little tiny stuff. You should have a copy of the water quality chart. But the first one is primary standards. And those are parameters that have an MCL, so they are regulated. And again, it's the highest level of a parameter allowed in drinking water. The second is secondary standards. So these are really aesthetic standards. There are no adverse health effects if they are above this secondary MCL. But again, it's aesthetic. we all know in Santa Barbara, our water has lots of minerals, so it has a different taste. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. I like to tell everybody that you don't have to buy Pellegrino, you get it straight out of your tap without the bubbles. And then there's another one, which is contaminants with no MCLs. So these are unregulated. They don't have a maximum contaminant level, but it's something that we've got hits on them. It's good to tell the community what's there. Hardness is one that, again, in Santa Barbara, everybody knows our water is very hard, so now they can see what the levels are there. And the last section, go ahead.
Sorry, for hardness, because it's a blended, what we supply is actually blended from desal to Cachuma as groundwater and all that. So is this kind of the average of that blend, or?
Let me go. Thank you. That's a good point. You can see on the chart, we have it separate out for surface water, which would be from Cater and Gibraltar, and then we have a groundwater, which is a range and an average, and then also desal. So right now, since desal is just in the downtown area, and then Cater has everything coming else down, it's nice to have those different numbers because we're not blending at a treatment plant and then sending them out just yet. So oftentimes we'll get customers call and say, hey, what is my hardness level? First off, what's your address? So we can find out where you are, and then we can give you a better idea. And we do have groundwater average and ranges in here. We haven't run our groundwater wells 4 years, I think. We've been letting our basins rest. But one of the requirements of the CCR is you have to report data that's at least that's 5 years old or newer.
Thank you. Just interesting question. You raised the question of the desal is basically in the lower area now. When we connect the conveyor all the way up to Cater, is that all going to get blended then, or are you still going to serve the lower areas separately? I'm just curious about that one.
I can speak generally on this,
Yeah,
but
that's all I want, is general.
So the plan would be is if the desal link is when that's on board, we would be sending water to desal water all the way up to Cater where it would blend in, and you would have a blended.
So it'll be all blended at that point?
All blended in.
Yeah, okay.
But we are maintaining the ability to operate how we're currently operating, because there is an energy cost to transmitting that water to get it up to
No, that
blended.
was kind of where I was
There
going.
will be periods where we will be potentially on the link or in the current configuration as it is.
Great, thank you.
And the last section of the chart is the unregulated contaminants monitoring. So these are unregulated contaminants. However, the difference between these and the previous unregulated contaminants is these are really based off of emerging contaminants of concern. So one thing that the EPA does, and drinking water I think is wonderful, is every 5 years they put out a list of 30 parameters that are emerging contaminants of concern, just to see the presence of these across the United States. So in the past, in UCMR 3, it was very heavily focused on PFAS. Then UCMR 4, it was a lot more of the disinfection byproducts. And UCMR 5, we went back to PFAS because we had additional PFAS that we wanted to test. I would imagine the next round would be microplastics would be in there. We have had some hormones that were tested in a couple of these. So it's a real interesting way to understand the presence of these contaminants in each community. And like every other portion of the chart, we are only reporting the detected contaminants. So when you look at the chart for UCMR 5, even though 29 PFAS were tested for, there wasn't any presence of it. So the lack of information is actually a good thing in this chart because it was not detected for UCMR 5. And again, we're required to keep 5 years worth of data in this chart. So next year when we present, or next year when we put out this chart, the UCMR 4 portion will not be there.
Mm-hmm. Is there a place where one can see what was tested and was not put on the report?
I believe the EPA and the UCMR section has
The list of
a list of everything, and then compiled of everybody across the United States.
Okay.
So additional information in the Consumer Confidence Report, they encourage a diagram of our water system. We like to include a message from our water resources manager on whatever is the current topics for the city. I think capital has been one of the big topics over the last couple years, so that keeps showing up in there. We also include conservation tips in the CCR. And I do want to point out that the CCR is really, it's a huge collaborative effort of folks across Public Works. Lauren Bennett, actually don't know your official title, but PIO for Public Works, I'm going to say. She does a great job of herding cats. So with all the different departments and getting all of the different data, she has done a fantastic job to get us complete package sent off to our customers. So big shout out to everybody who has put in effort on this. So that's the CCR, which is an annual requirement. Next, we'll jump into the Public Health Goals report, and this is a triennial requirement.
Can
So
I just
every
have
3 years. Yes, of
a quick
course.
comment on the consumer confidence report? Really helpful to see this all, and when I was reading through it, like how the information is communicated, and I think obviously there's a lot of data and information, right? It's really hard to communicate that in a way that like an average resident can understand. And I think in the like paragraphs that describe like what, contaminants are found or what the issues are, I think one thing that might be helpful is to put kind of like the headline takeaway more clearly up front. Because like, for example, in the PFAS, right, like you have to read like most of the way into the paragraph until you say, in all sources, PFAS was not detected. Right, and like I think if I'm a resident that's concerned about water quality and doesn't really know how to read the data, like that's what I care about, right? And so I think maybe just a recommendation for consideration in preparing this report is like, how do you get the key takeaways really clear for people that are not going to understand the data well?
I appreciate the feedback, Chair Snyder. I think you're correct. I would like to see that first, too. Okay. So we already gave you the definition of what public health goals are previously, but I will remind you. It is the level of a parameter in drinking water below which there are no known health risks. So they are not enforceable goals. They are essentially goals, but given some of the makeup of our water, it's just unachievable to remove everything. Public health goals are established by California EPA's Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment. That is the same office who sets the maximum contaminant limits, so it's nice to have them in the same spot. If there is no public health goal established, then we are to use the maximum contaminant level goal, which is set by the US EPA. So the Public Health Goals report identifies any parameter that exceeds the PHG level in the previous 3 years. So for this report, it is for 22, 23, 24, reporting out in 25. So the report must include parameters detected above the PHG limit, any health risk information of the detected parameters, and then the estimate of costs to actually get down to the public health goal for technology. So these are the 5, grouped into 3 spots, parameters that were detected above the public health goal. So that's great that we didn't have too many. Bromate is a disinfection byproduct. We use ozone at Cater Treatment Plant as our primary means of disinfection. There is some bromide in our water naturally occurring and coming from the state. So when ozone and bromide get together, they create bromate. So we have that byproduct that is created. Lead and copper just comes from corrosion of plumbing, and that is all. The lead and copper results here are from the testing from our lead and copper rule sampling, which is sampling private homes and their plumbing. So those 2 parameters were above the public health goal. And then we have some radiologicals, gross beta particles, and radium. They're naturally occurring, so it's kind of difficult to remove them. And that was found in the desal water. So this goes into the health risk and the best available technology and the cost to remove. So for bromate, your cancer risk at the public health goal is one excess case in 1 million. So pretty low level, but anytime we talk about cancer, it's not something to dismiss. To remove the bromate to the level of the public health goal would require reverse osmosis at Cater Treatment Plant, and that would include the cost $3,400 per year per household. Lead and copper, there is no public health goal for, or excuse me, there's no cancer risk for copper. It's a natural element. So that one's just a, hey, you've got it. Lead is less than one excess cancer case in 1 million. And the technology would be corrosion control optimization. We're already doing that, so there's not much more we can do, so there's really a zero cost there. And then for the radiologicals, gross beta, the cancer risk is 0, which is good. And then radium is 1 in 1 million again. That technology would be reverse osmosis. The fact that we saw it in our desal water and we're already using RO down at the desal plant, cost is kind of unknown since we're already doing it. We wouldn't know how to remove it further. Yeah. Further passes through the membranes, yeah. So.
Just, it's a typo, that says 1 in a billion, so it's 1 in a million.
I was getting,
You're correct, but it's 1 in a million.
yes, it's 1 in a
Zeros,
million.
yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
So in summary, city's drinking water meets and exceeds all regulatory limits below the MCLs. And I would like to reiterate this, the city water is safe to drink. I know we get a lot of folks coming from out of town and say, oh, what is that taste? What is that smell? It's, as I mentioned before, it's just the minerals. It's completely safe to drink. We are so lucky that we've got such great operators throughout Water Resources to make our water and our water system safe. And even though we've got a handful of parameters that are above the public health goal, it's cost prohibitive to remove down to those levels. So I think everything is pretty status quo.
Great.
Questions?
Just want to say great job to the whole team. I mean, this is a
Excellent.
really big effort, and especially getting the certification in 2024. That was a big effort. I know you planned for it a long time ago, but yeah, very good. Congratulations.
Is that what you were going to say?
No, yeah, that's exactly, yeah. I was going to second that.
Yeah. Same. Is there any public comment?
Chair Snyder, we don't have any speakers for public comment on this item.
All right, and there's no vote on this item, right? All right, thank you. We'll move on to item 6, response to the findings from the Santa Barbara County Grand Jury report regarding water management.
Thanks, Chair Snyder. I have Ms. Showers here, who's going to be presenting on this, our response to the grand jury report. This is my first time in my role seeing one of these reports and having the opportunity to respond to it. And so, having read them as a member of the public in the past, our agencies and the water agencies in Santa Barbara have been treated very critically by the grand jury in the past, especially during drought periods. And so getting this response being so positive and congratulatory was really nice to see this time around. And I do know that our staff who did testify at the grand jury were grilled pretty toughly. And so seeing this result is very rewarding and really does a testament to the amazing planning of our leadership within the city and the guidance that the commission and council have been giving us.
Good morning. I am Jasmine Showers, Water Resources Analyst, and thank you for that introduction. For the presentation today, I'll start with an overview of the Santa Barbara Grand Jury Report findings, then talk about the city responses to those findings, and this does include a recommendation to council. The Santa Barbara Grand Jury is a division of the Superior Court of Santa Barbara, and it functions to keep watch over local government agencies. And the report we're discussing today is titled Water Management in Santa Barbara County, Keep Up the Good Work. And this was released June 13th. And as you can see from the title, this is a very positive report. It's full of a lot of compliments to the city of Santa Barbara and then other Santa Barbara County water providers. The report includes 3 findings. There are no recommendations in the report. And the city is required by law to respond to each individual finding within 90 days. The first finding in the report stated that all entities the jury investigated that provide and manage water in Santa Barbara County have made proactive plans to fortify against future droughts and provide sufficient water necessary to support future housing growth and commerce. And our staff proposed response is agreement to this first finding. The report really highlights the city has invested in a diverse water supply portfolio. And we as staff coordinate very closely with our community development team to help inform development and housing growth assumptions. And this map here, where your water comes from, was featured in the report. And I think it really underlines the point that the city has such a diverse water supply portfolio. And to continue with our proposed finding 1 response, I want to focus on the second part of the report title, which is Keep Up the Good Work. And we know in order to keep up the good work, we need to continue to prioritize these things. Water conservation remains very important, especially as we know it helps us to stretch our available supplies. And the report praises water service reliability. And we know that that depends on continued investment in our water system infrastructure and continued rate studies. Rate studies help us fund water supplies, operations, and system improvements. And then implementing strategies for recruiting and retaining staff. So we need the staff in order to perform the planned system maintenance and carry out these capital improvement projects. Finding number 2 of the report identified significant improvement in coordination among water management agencies throughout Santa Barbara County. And this is in comparison to a 2016-2017 grand jury finding, which found that limitations existed in coordinating water management. And our proposed finding 2 response is agreement. And this one is shorter. The city intends to continue to work cooperatively among Santa Barbara County water agencies. Finding number 3 is specific to the city of Santa Barbara, and the city is the only agency that's required to respond. Finding 3 states that the city of Santa Barbara has gone beyond the basic management of water resources for its population by utilizing desalination to innovatively expand local water availability. And our proposed response for finding 3 is agreement. And we as staff really appreciate the recognition from the grand jury report and the support from Water Commission and City Council for the investment in desalination and the commitment to long-range water supplies. The 2020 Enhanced Urban Water Management Plan promotes continued use of desal. And as we've discussed in previous meetings, this allows us to optimize other water supplies. For example, right now, we have over 14,000 acre feet of water stored in Lake Cachuma. And that includes our current allocation and carryover water. The proposed response to the grand jury report does include this clarification that desalination expansion is not in progress. The 2020 Enhanced Urban Water Management Plan has demand triggers that would guide the timing of desalination initiation, and those haven't been met. And then we also haven't received direction from Water Commission or City Council to expand. So there is a clarification there. And for the recommendation, I ask the Water Commission recommend that Council A consider and adopt the letter response to the Honorable Patricia Kelly, presiding judge, Santa Barbara Superior Court regarding the 2024-2025 grand jury report entitled Water Management in Santa Barbara County, Keep Up the Good Work. And B, authorize the mayor to sign and forward the response letter to the presiding judge of Santa Barbara County Superior Court. And with that, I'm ready for any questions.
Again, no questions in this case, but just congratulations on the recognition of the exceptional work that the city has done over the past decade. And again, as Mr. Welch indicated, previous reports have been somewhat critical from the grand jury, and this, to see this is a little unusual, actually, in that regard. So again, congrats to everybody involved.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. Do we know the composition of the grand jury? Is it basically just citizens at large, or?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
it looks like citizens, and then they sign up for, I think, a 2-year term.
Ah, okay, wow.
Yeah. And they do over 30 reports, that said, over the year.
Yeah, I just want to second the congratulations. This is really positive report, so that's great to see. I had one comment in the response to finding number 1. In the slides, you mentioned kind of the importance of recruiting and retaining staff, but that's not actually in the city response.
Oh, okay.
So it might just be worth adding a line in there, emphasizing that in the official response back to the grand jury.
Good catch.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah.
Is there any public comment?
Chair Snyder, we don't have any speakers for public comment on this item.
Madam Chair, I'd move to support staff's recommendation, forwarding the response on to City Council for approval.
I'll second.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney,
Yes.
Vice Chair Keller,
Yes.
Chair Snyder.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Showers. We'll move on to the final item, manager's report.
Thank you, Chair Snyder. We have the Water Resource Manager report. Couple just themes that weren't necessarily in the report, but are to give context to the report. First, just wanted to touch base on personnel. As of Monday, Mr. Hagmark is our acting Public Works Director, and so that's why I'm here for running the show today. On Monday, Ms. Dakota Corey will be taking over as acting Water Resources Manager, and Dana Hoffenberger will be backfilling and acting as Water Supply and Service Manager. That team is extremely tight right now because the Water Supply and Services Superintendent is vacant, and we are currently recruiting for that position. I believe that position closes in the next week or two. So we're recruiting for that. Still personnel-wise, distribution, water distribution, I think we talk about almost every meeting, but they're still extremely tapped. I believe we're short 4 staff currently. They just did a major recruitment for operator in training that closed earlier in the month of June. And so we are working with our other internal departments. Vacancy-wise, the Human Resources Director position is still, we have an acting HR Director. That recruitment's going, and that will, once that position's filled, we're hoping to have a new direction on our labor relations, continuing the class and comp program, and we'll also be getting into labor negotiations with the bargaining unit of the majority of our field staff, the treatment and patrol bargaining unit. So we have some kind of citywide policy that will be affecting hopefully improving our recruitment and retention efforts. And we're one of the goals we want to have to try and improve that recruitment and retention is we have a history of kind of hitting the market for salaries, and then it kind of drops down, and then we jump back up, and it kind of fades back. And so that's a challenge for the staff because our recruiting efforts, because depending on where you are on that cycle, you might be able to snag the great employee, and then they start looking if they believe they're getting behind market. And so really we want to make sure that we can develop a track record and a consistency of being competitive with the job market to be able to continue to maintain our staff. Especially in distribution, we have a very aggressive 2% main replacement target, and being able to recruit, retain the staff who are knowledgeable enough to support that capital work. These aren't the staff that you get them in, they get certified, and they're able to do the work, but it takes time to build that institutional knowledge to be able to be really effective at delivering the capital program on time, on budget, and and at high quality. So that's our focus, is trying to continue to be able to deliver that capital program in distribution. So that's kind of personnel-wise. Staying on the water topic, desal, we had the barge was here last week to install a new pump, and unfortunately, after 9 days, the new pump has failed. So desal is operational. We have one pump offshore, so we are running, but we will need to, or IDE will need to come back out, get the barge out, and pull the new pump out, and find out what failed and how to get that operational again. I do have, unfortunately, we do have a monitoring violation report for the treatment plant for last month. We have, so it's kind of break our violations up into two categories. There's what we call monitoring violations and permit exceedances. This was a monitoring violation. So we weren't outside of like a high level of a contaminant. It was a deficient monitoring for oil and grease. And that sample it's an infrequent sample. It's an every 6 day sample. And so with the recent turnover in the lab and the short staffing they've been dealing with their hourlies, there was a sample that was collected and not analyzed, unfortunately. And so all the other samples in that month were in compliance. Oil and grease is not a sample that we have had much concern over exceeding. So, but it is, we still are reporting that we did not sample that animal. We did not perform that analysis. Then we are still focusing on our one water culture in the team across the board. We have our second annual employee engagement survey is currently out. That should be closing soon. As a result of last year's survey, staff really shared an interest in getting more information about the other teams that they work with. I can attest to sometimes we do get a little siloed in our roles. I worked for 18 years at the wastewater treatment plant, and I didn't really leave the plant too much. And, and so we're focused on our day-to-day jobs, and you don't always get to see the big picture. And so because of that, we've started a pilot job shadowing program. And so we have staff, we have about almost 40 of our staff are participating in the program. And we've set them up in a cohort, so they'll be going once a quarter, spending about half a day with another work group. And it's not cross-training because we don't expect them to be able to do the work, but we want them to understand in broad strokes, what does it take to get that work done? What does it look like on a day-to-day basis? So, we perform the wastewater treatment plant, we've done public tours for a long time. And so this is a little more in depth than a tour. It's not just a tour, it's actually following staff around. We've gotten a lot of great feedback so far from the staff that are participating in it. We had one group go back to Gibraltar, and there's a lot of staff who've never been back there to see that. And they in the drive, they got a crash course on water supply planning from Ms. Dakota Corey. And then we've had a group of staff follow our collections team. And unfortunately, we had the day that they were doing their job shadowing, there was a private lateral sewer spill. And so staff from the water department who've never, considered what the ramifications of a sewer spill, were able to see what it looks like to respond, to document, to perform the investigation. They did the CCTV inspection or watched the CCTV inspection afterwards, and they really got I heard a lot of great feedback to be able to I had no idea that's what it takes. And then we had the same staff follow, or a different group follow our treatment plant maintenance and treatment plant operations staff. The maintenance staff went to the 7 lift stations around the city. And so, once again, our smallest lift station talent is a vault in someone's front yard. And then our biggest lift station, Braemar, is at the bottom of Allen Road. It looks like a little house. And so these are invisible assets to the community that even staff within the Water Resources Division didn't really know about. And so we've had other staff have been up at Cater, touring the water treatment plant, and same visiting the wastewater treatment plant. And so over the next year and a half, they'll be rotating between each group will be able to do each one of those tour opportunities, and then we're also working to set up group meetings where the entire cohort can get together and kind of be able to build those relationships between them. A lot of especially with our field crews, you get really strong relationships with in collections, it's 2 people on a truck. In the distribution crew, it's a small field crew responding to a spill or a water main break, but you don't necessarily get that same rapport with the other work groups. So it has been really great to make those connections, and it's been pretty good also for just morale and making sure staff feel seen and also just giving them the opportunity to get engaged to a new level that they weren't able to before.
That sounds like a great program. And if there's another field trip to Gibraltar, count me in. That's the one thing I haven't visited. So.
Noted. Vice Chair Keller. If there was any questions on the actual report itself, I'm happy to go through it.
I just had a question on the water production chart. So are we still drawing from Gibraltar? Are we kind of done for the season, or? I know it's been a lot this year.
Ms. Showers? Thanks. Is it, which slide, am I on the right slide?
Yes.
Slide 56.
Yeah, thanks. I think you are. How was I?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't looking at here. Well, that one works too.
Or
No, this is the one.
Yeah.
Yes, we are still drawing from Gibraltar. Expect it for about another month.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
We've mentioned that, or you've mentioned in the past that the revenues are still pretty much in line with what we expected, even though production is a little lower. So we're okay with revenue still?
Yeah, revenues, I believe, are on target for FY 25 that we just ended. We're starting FY 26, and the new the rate increase will take effect in July, and I believe it hits the first bills in August. That's when we'll see that increase in revenue.
All right. Is there any public comment?
Chair Snyder, we have no speakers for public comment on this item.
All right, thank you. So we'll adjourn this meeting. Next month is a special meeting, I believe, so our regular Water Commission meeting will be canceled. The date's not on here. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Chair Snyder, it will be on August 21st.
And will that be at here?
Cater,
or-
we believe so. We'll confirm with you in writing, and we'll post that agenda.
All right. Well, then that is adjournment for today's meeting, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you.